been chaos across the country today as some 150,000 prospective senior high school candidates struggle to place themselves to benefit from Ghana's flagship free SHS program. Many are unable to access the placement system due to slow internet in urban and rural communities across the country. But in the last few hours, government has been forced to make further extensions to the deadline that expired at the weekend. The student will now have unspecified amount of time to do self-placement. We'll hear from the Deputy Education Minister in an exclusive interview with my colleague Matilda Womega shortly. But today, many are stranded in internet cafes across the country trying to get placement. Internet link, we're told, is slow, scratch cards are unavailable, and for those in rural areas, they've had to travel long distances to access internet. Well, before we hit the regions, JoyNews' editor Fred Smith has some numbers to help us appreciate the magnitude of the problems, and Fred obviously has joined me here in the studio. Fred, take us through the figures that you have and what the implications are.
We know that 460,000, that's the number of candidates that took part in the BECE, and we are expecting that 92% of this, that's 424,000 candidates be placed. Now, not all of them got the opportunity to be placed because they selected they were given opportunity to pick 4 schools of their choice. Now, 267,000 managed to get schools in one of these 4
that they chose.
Right. Now, 150,000 did not get chances in the schools that they wanted to attend, and so it's become necessary
in all the 4 that they chose.
all the 4.
Right.
So it's become necessary for the GES, the placement center, to give them a second opportunity to find schools that outside the 4 that they chose.
Right.
So that's what's going on now, and there was a 48-hour deadline for them to do so. Unfortunately, they were struggling with the scratch cards to log on because you'd have to do this online, and in some cases they do not have internet to be able to log on to the system, and so the GAS was forced. They announced an extension on Saturday, and from that extension we do understand that many are still unable to log on. So this morning they've issued another statement trying to explain to people how they can log on, and we'll be explaining to people exactly what the procedures are, but I'm sure you'd want to go around the regions to find out how things are shaping up.
Okay, well, we'll go around the regions, and then when we come back, we'll have you take us through the statement from the GES. Let's start from the central region, where Richard Kojonaku is standing by for us. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Gifty.
Good to have you at this point. What can you tell us about the situation in the central region as far as the placement system and the snail-paced internet is in the central region?
Well, I can report the frustration of parents and some candidates or some students that are potential senior high school students. And their frustration started on Friday when they started having troubles and challenges with the online system. Some of them had not been placed. Others too have been placed, but they did not like their schools. And so these are their concerns. There are some parents who would want to, despite the fact that they have been placed in schools that they do not like, they want to choose schools of their choice. And I explained the implications to them, and they said that, well, they are willing to pay because they want the school at all costs for their work. And so if the computer does not place them, then it means that they are out of the free SHS system.
But then they have the opportunity to choose 4 schools for themselves. Wasn't that the case for them?
Exactly, and let me even explain this person who has a grade 15 and chose 4 schools. The first school was Fantoman, the second school was Ghana National College, the third school was Academy of Christ the King, and then the final school was Efutu Senior High School. All these schools are in the central region, but then the student was not placed in any of these schools. Interestingly, her colleague, who she sat in the same BECE room, they attended the same school. The colleague got at grade 25, and interestingly, the colleague who had at grade 25 had been placed by the computer and had been placed at Infantoman Senior High School. And so this explains their frustration, and she's not alone. There are others that are also struggling to also understand the system, why they've not been placed. I've been combing around Cape Coast. I went to the University of Cape Coast campus. There are about 3 cafes there. I went there, and the same frustration in town. I've gone to about 4 of the cafes, and I mean almost all the cafeteria or the internet browsing systems. I mean they are full of parents and students, and they are trying to log on to the system.
Let me find out what authorities in the central region are saying or doing about this situation, so that when we're done with that, we can take what the GES here in Accra has put out in this particular statement, and then we can continue with the region. So bring us up to speed. What are they saying, authorities in the central region?
Well, it looks as if that authorities here have nothing to say. It seems that the thing is beyond their region. So whoever asks them anything, they direct them to the authorities in Accra. And incidentally, the heads of schools are currently in a meeting in the Volta region. And so I went to some of the schools, and there was no one there. Apparently, some parents this morning went to some of the schools, Fantaman, St. Augustine College, and Adisco, and only to witness or to learn that the heads of the schools are not there, because people have also started lobbying already in order to get their children their preferred schools. And so for years, it seems like a centralized system in Accra, and it hasn't been decentralized yet.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Richard Kojonaku, for that update. So before we go to the other regions, Fred.
And Gifty, you heard Kojonaku say that they sat in the same class.
Right.
One person
had better grades.
Yeah, but was not placed. It all depends on which programs you selected.
Okay. As
you were, selecting the schools.
Is that the explanation we're getting from the GES?
That's the explanation from the GES. Right. So it doesn't mean that you got better grades, you will get the school you selected automatically. Okay. It will depend on the number of candidates competing for a certain program. And we do understand that Charles, the headmasters, are all in the Volta region now. Right. The Minister for Education is also attending that meeting. Okay. They go in, and yesterday he said will be one of the major topics that they will be discussing.
Very well. We'll be we're touching base with all the regions, so definitely we'll be getting to the Volta region to find out if we can get any information from that ongoing meeting. But Fred, before I go to Martina Bugri in the northern region, take us through the GES release that has just come in.
Well, they are explaining to the 150,770 candidates who are to place themselves. They were not placed in the initial placement, and now they have to find the schools themselves. They are struggling. They say they have up to Tuesday, 5th of September 2017 to do this, and they should go to the official website, that's myjhsresults.net, and select a school of their choice from the list of schools displayed. Now, candidates should log on to the website and follow the instructions to select a school. Now, log in with your index number, then your PIN code number to check your placement status. Once that is done, if you're placed, the link to the self-placement, if you are placed, then that's it. If you are not placed, then the link will pop up.
Okay.
The self-placement link. Then you have to do the self-placement. Okay. Now, you click on the link to do that. You select the region, you select the school, then you select the program that you want to pursue. Then you click the submit button to place yourself, and they're saying that once you submit, you cannot change the placement, and you can then print the placement form. That's all they are required to do when they go to the cafe with the
But it would be very interesting if you're supposed to do a self-placement. Maybe I'm not well educated on this particular bit of it, but if you're supposed to do a self-placement, it means then that you're choosing any school. You're choosing any of the any school from the 4 that you initially chose. What if they reject you because they've had enough?
It is very possible that that school would also reject you. So you'd have to come back. I'm sure you know your status later on. There will be feedback. Then you may have to place yourself. In the past, what was happening was that the computer will place you in one of the 4 schools that you've chosen, or it will not place you at all, like in the case of the 150,000 candidates.
But then you don't get the chance to place yourself.
No, the GES will decide the other options on your behalf. Okay. So if, for instance, you chose schools in, say, Kokomlemle, and you didn't get any of them, they will choose for you. And in some cases, we heard in the past that people were placed in schools, say, in the Volta region when they wanted the Greater Accra region.
Okay. Well, we'll see that. Let me have that so that I could just go through it one more time. If you're a student and you're looking forward to placing yourself, I could run you through it once I'm done with touching base with our correspondent in the various regions. First Smith, thank you very much for it. It's an editor here at JoyNews. Well, let's go to the northern region. Like I said, Martina Bugri is standing by. Hello, Martina.
Hi, Gifty.
From the central region, we know the authorities are tight-lipped. They're not really saying anything about this. There is a statement here from the GES that's saying that you'll be given the opportunity to place yourself. What's the situation in the northern region?
In the northern region, it's been a day of frustration, anger, as parents took to various cafes to access the program. The thing won't just open in most of the cafes that I visited where we had parents. They've been trying since yesterday till now. Yesterday it came briefly and then ceased. And with yesterday's way of access, what they did was when you key in the input and then you send. It takes a while, but then at the end you would have the results come up. But since from yesterday around 2 till as we speak, most of the cafes have not been able to open been able to do for anybody.
Right.
And so people have had to leave their cars and then go home with their numbers, hoping that when they are able to do it,
Restore
they will call
system.
them and then they will come for it. And so it's been a day of anger. And I also found some other issue that came up. 18 students of the Praise-Be Junior High School in Tamale here, they said when they received their results, what they got was that with their marks, they wrote W. And so they went to the cafes today to actually check and see if they would have any placement. They are not able to access it, and yet the GS is not telling them whether they will be part of those who would get admission or not. And so it's also been an issue in Tamale here.
Well, for those who are not sure what's going to happen because the GES hasn't told them anything, I'll go through the release that we've got from the Ghana Education Service once I'm done with our conversation. But there is some kind of answer here for them. They will be allowed to do a self-placement. But if you were to put a number, a figure to the number of people or to the people who are stranded, to the people who are frustrated at the snail pace of the internet, etc., what would you say? How many are we talking about here?
I visited like 5 cafes in town, and each cafe I could come out up to 30 or 40 people waiting to have their turn. And so if you are going to do a quick calculation, you would know that we are hitting over 100 people who are there and actually can access. Not talking of those who are far away in various districts where internet in the region is a bit of a problem. And so you can imagine those in Tamale Metropolis are having this problem. What of those who are in
the hinterlands? Certainly.
Yes.
Right. Hey, can we look a bit at the brighter side as well? I mean, we've seen all the gloomy side of how difficult it is for some people to access. But for those who have been placed, those who have had the schools of their choice, for instance, what is the mood been like for those people?
Some are excited because they actually have had their choice. Others are also not excited, even though they have been placed, but they think that they had a better result to get a more prestigious school than what they have been given to. And so they chose probably Tamasco, and they are being sent to a school out of town. And they think that, well, with what I got, I deserve Tamasco. And so yeah, it's been a mixture of some who are excited because they have gotten exactly what they want, and others who have been placed, but they are not actually happy because of what they have as well.
Well, hopefully they will all get good education and contribute to the human resource of this country. Martina, thank you very much. But have authorities there said anything? Have they communicated any information?
I tried to speak to the GS director. I was told he's not around.
Right.
And so no one is actually ready to talk.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Martina Bugri from the northern region. Well, let's go to the Upper West region where Rafiq Salam is standing by. He's actually put together a report of the situation. Watch this.
Students and parents who throng to internet cafes in the Upper West region are having arduous time in assessing placement for themselves or their children to gain entry into senior high school. Some of them who spoke to JoyNews said the link is very slow, thus making them unable to have access to the server. One of the students, Pianinya Moses, walked over 10 kilometers from Kaha to enable him have access to the internet, only to be disappointed. He has fears he may lose out.
Yes, I check it on phone, and the phone says they place me, but where they place me, I don't get it. I don't know the place they place me.
So you are here, and what are they telling you?
They say the internet is not open. The page is not open.
So now that it's not open, you have a deadline to meet. So are you worried?
Yes.
Why are you worried?
I'm worried because I'm from village and I work from here, and they say the computer is not open because I'm worried about what can I get at school.
Another person who came to the internet for the placement is Nakona Prosper, but he came to do it for the sister. He traveled from Natal in the Nadulu-Keleo district, where there is no functional commercial internet cafe.
From what they are saying the link is slow. So, and we have been given 48 hours to do this exercise. So I don't know what happens if you are not able to do and then the system is closed.
And so now that the link is not opening, do you have fears that you may fail to get the placement?
Yes, because considering the number who has not been placed, it means even if all are to do, I wonder whether they will be able to do that.
So what do you want to be done?
Maybe if they are not able to do, then they give another chance for them.
Part of the blame of their inability to access the placement was laid on the doorstep of owners of internet cafes in the region.
So that is the situation in the Upper West region. Well, here in Accra, it seems that there's been a lot of frustrations as well. In fact, I've just been having a conversation with one of our colleagues here who's been trying since Friday to get through to the system, but has failed consistently. And he's just telling me that the number of times that he's tried, that it's not working. But maybe it's still early days yet. Let's look at the situation here in the Greater Accra region. Patricia Gasu has visited some cafes in a bid to understand what really the problems are. Here's her report.
The day, or when did you start this whole process?
Yeah, we started, I think, Friday.
On Friday. So have you encountered any challenge?
Yes, please.
Can you tell me some of them?
Yeah, most of them is that most students don't get their schools.
Okay.
They are either asked to select their schools from Friday to Tuesday or so.
Okay.
That's those who are from 06 and to 30, that's 30 and below.
Okay.
And those from 31 and above are supposed to select theirs from, I think, Tuesday to Friday or so. Whenever I'm opening any web browser or web page, it just shows up. But with theirs, it's very slow.
That's checking for the placement is very slow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think they should also do something about it.
Okay. So how many people came here yesterday? And since Friday, how many people have been here?
Maybe roughly 50 and above.
50 and above. So approximately like 60 people?
Yes, please. And most of them had to wait. They should have. They came today. We told them to go because the link was very slow. So some of them came today to check for theirs.
Okay. So how many people did you attend to on Friday?
On Friday, I can roughly say maybe 20 because that was the day the schools came in, which was released. Yes. So most people didn't know about it. So those who knew, they came the other day, that's Saturday and today, to check for theirs, and I think it will continue.
Well, you saw that situation there for yourself. Well, some stranded parents are not having any of the excuses that the system providers and the GES are giving. They've been marching to the Education Ministry to express their frustration in the hope that they'll get some real solutions. Here's some of them.
The son got 8 aggregates. He chose Presec, Legon, and Agri Memorial Central Region. And out of the schools, he have not even got one of the schools. And that's the reason I was here this morning.
So you've been here since morning. What have they been telling you?
They told me that they are going to lunch. I should wait for a while. I've given them my telephone number, and up to now, I'm still waiting for them.
So you are hoping that. So are you aware of the self-selection process?
I'm not aware of it. I just reported myself here. I just came here to find out what is happening at the at the selection center.
And what exactly have they told you to make go through the process of getting your own the school by yourself?
What they told me is that they just pick my number and I give them a copy sheet of my son's results. And up to now, I'm still waiting for them. They said I should wait for a while.
So why are you here this morning?
Okay, there's a problem with the placement of my son, and that's why I'm here.
So what exactly is the problem?
Okay, the problem is that the schools my son have chosen, they have changed the schools he have selected, and they give him different schools.
What aggregate did your son get?
He had 16.
Aggregate 16.
Yes.
And what schools did he choose?
Okay, he chose Manley, Sogan School, Sparkle, and then Kitabu School.
So what schools were he given?
Oh, now they put Ashama Senior High, Nongwa Senior High, Adisade College, and Dansoma.
These are the schools your son was given?
Yeah.
And you don't want any of these schools?
He didn't select any of this.
So you don't want Adisadel?
No, but the point is they gave him one of this.
Okay, so which one exactly did they give to him?
They gave him Ashama Senior High.
And you don't want
day school.
Okay.
It's a day school, and I can't put my son in Ashama town to be attending school, all the way from Volta region. So it's.
So what do you want to be done?
I want a correction to be done. A correction that the schools they have, put against the names of my son, the name of my son, they are not the schools he has selected.
But so what have they been telling you? I know you've been here since morning trying to get their attention.
We went to this the computer, the ICT center down there, opposite Aquina Secondary. Yeah. We've been there since morning. Nobody was there to talk to us. They closed their.
So here, what have they told you?
We came to the secondary division. They told us go down to free HSS department. When we went there, they said we should come to reception here.
Are you aware of the self-selection process?
Yeah, the self-selection process. I tried it because it didn't work because.
How did you go through the process?
We went to the cafe and you buy the checkout. The guys there will help you flow through. But when you're already placed, the self-selection will not open for you. You get it? So that was the problem.
Yeah. I'm here to sort the issue of my ward, which is my senior sister's son.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what school is it that he didn't get to school? What exactly is the issue?
He has been placed, but the school that he was placed is not the school that I selected.
Okay. So what aggregate did he get?
13.
You selected 4 schools. Which schools did you select?
I selected Achimota Senior High, Ghana National, Wesley Grammar, and Kwechi Agri. Now, when I check, he has been placed at Accra Senior High, second choice. It's not part of my selected schools that I selected.
Okay, so he was given a school that was not part of the option.
The school, yes.
So what exactly do you want to be done here?
Through my selection, I selected Body School Street. But now Accra Senior is a day school, so I'm in for the correction so that if only they will give me my third choice, it's a body school, I'll be accepted. It's part of my selection.
Which one is the third choice?
Wesley Grammar.
Wesley Grammar.
Yes.
But have you been there already? What have they been telling you? You've been here since morning.
To the school or to the...
This place?
Firstly, we went to their normal office, the one at Cantonment. We were told that they are not there, so we were directed to come here. So when we came, I went to free SHS, and they told me that the person who's supposed to help me is not around. So there was a man who came in and said, I'm supposed to come to the receptionist. That's where they can help me. I have to reapply. But when I'm reapplying, the school that I've selected, if the schools that I have, they have to select one of those schools for me. So I will accept it. If they should give me the Wesley Grammar, I'll be okay with it.
All right, so those are some of worried parents and guardians there at the ministry. Well, we're going to hear from the Deputy Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Educhum, in a bit, announcing a further extension. But this is the press release that came from the Ghana Education Service before we spoke to the Deputy Minister. And this is what First Smith had just gone through. Let me quickly recap that from a part of it that says, those who have not been placed have up to the Tuesday, the 5th of September 2017 to place themselves. Now they should go to the official website, etc., and it goes on. It's www.myjhsresults.net and select a school of their choice from a list of schools displayed. Now, candidates should log into the website and follow the further instructions that are available. And that instruction is that you log in with your index number and then your PIN code number to check your placement status. Once you have done that, if you're not placed, the link for the self-placement will pop up, and you click on that link to open the self-placement module. What you do from then is to select the region of your choice and then select the school of your choice. You select the program of your choice and click on submit button to place yourself. And it says to please note that once you submit, you cannot change your placement. You can then print your placement form. So the deadline given here is Tuesday, the 5th of September, which is tomorrow, really. But let's hear from the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Yao Educhum, who's announcing also measures to address this problem that the system is facing at the moment.
So the much talked about free senior high school policy by the Kufuor-led administration is expected to take place in 7 days. How ready are we? What are the things parents should be looking out for, especially those who haven't gotten a place for their kids? Let me find out from the Deputy Minister in charge of secondary education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, to get some more understanding. Thank you so much, sir, for having us.
Thank you so much for coming to my office for us to have this dialogue.
So, Doc, how ready are we for this policy? What exactly are in place?
We are very ready. I'll let you know that at this stage, whatever we need to put in place have been put in place.
Honorable, let's now talk about those who qualify, those who have been placed. You talked about 92% who have passed and have been placed. This 92, do they also capture those who have issues with the selection process, those who haven't been able to get the school of their choice?
Yeah, the 92 includes all of them. Percent.
Can you please put a figure to the 92?
The 92 is, we have 36,000 of the 8%, then it's about 420,000. And they are parts of the number of students that we have spaces for that are going to go to senior high school. All that we are saying is this. You see, unlike the previous years where the computer was placing students in schools where they did not choose, we wanted to avoid that. We had complaints of parents. Their parents would say, my child was sent to a school, I have never heard of that school. And I don't think that is fair to a Ghanaian parent, that you want your child to go to school, and then we place him or her in a school that you have never heard of. So under the leadership of my minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, he said, let's discontinue that process. But the best way out of that scenario is to make sure that parents will have the opportunity to select the schools that they want their children to be placed.
So this brings us to the self-selection process.
Selection process, thank you.
So with this selection process, tomorrow, Tuesday, is the deadline. How sure are we that these people will be able to get placement?
I would say it's a guidepost. I would say we are using that to measure how fast we can move things. No student is going to be told you cannot benefit from this great vision of our great president because it's Tuesday. It's not going to happen.
So it's possible that after Tuesday, people will get the opportunity?
Of course, madam. Because why would we do that? Nanado brought this up so that the poor will benefit and everybody from deprived communities will benefit. And if by saying that you should register this time. You see, let me give you the rationale behind this guidepost that we offered. Over the years, as I've said, students were not going to school on time. And this hampers academic achievement. 70% of students who take the WASSCE fails every year. They don't get A1 to C6, what they need to move up to tertiary level. It's a tragedy in this country. When 70% of students are not doing well, it shouldn't continue. And one of the things that we agree with GS over was that why don't we do a fast-track placement process to get a case in school early enough so that they can get a full first term. And then after that, why don't we talk to WAEC to make sure that they don't start the exams in February and move it down like they used to do many, many years ago to see that, so you can have a situation where you are truly getting the 3 years. But at this point, the 3 years have become 2 years. This is what we want to avoid. And in the process of avoiding that, you see, there can be hiccups here and there. But we want to make sure that students are not disenfranchised. They are not. We don't remove them from the opportunity to benefit from this great vision because they did not complete everything on Tuesday.
Talk even about deprived communities. You have areas that are hard to reach. They do not have access to electricity. Talk of internet service. These people would have to travel miles to get this, go through the entire process. I know already we are facing some technical, let me say technical hitch. How are we addressing that? Because it appears, I see a lot of parents too around trying to get some answers. How are they going to be able to go through this process?
Yeah, Madam, I happen to be the Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe constituency, which happen to have a huge rural population. So I understand. I understand what you are talking about. And as a child, I grew up in a rural area, so I have the sentiments, and I live the sentiments of rural people. So I understand that. I also understand that there may be some people in urban areas who may not have access to the internet readily. So that is why I prefaced my discussion earlier that we are not going to cut people off because they were not able to get to an internet cafe on Tuesday. But let me say, that this is a better process than what has pertained over the years, where you have to travel to your regional director's office in the regional capital. Imagine somebody says you are Kontomra, says you be quiet. You have to go to Takrade, to the regional director's office so that they can do the placement for you.
This cannot be completed in just a day.
No, so the journey back and forth could have been more tedious than the fact that Seshua Kontomra has an internet cafe. Go there and let's help you. But we understand. You see, technology works in a very unique way. Because everybody wants to get in, the door is locked. If I open the door to this office and we have 100 people who want to get in, what will happen? Nobody will allow the other one to get in. So there's struggle, stampede. So we have a technical stampede. But people are getting, as more people get in, then it eases up. And as I sit here with you, we are making plans to really scale up the server capacity to ensure that more people can get in. After my interview with you, that is what I'm working on. I want to make sure that Nanado's vision for Free Senior High School come to pass with as few glitches as possible. But this I expected. So we really want to appeal to parents that they should work with us. We will not leave them behind.
But, Doc, what happens to the 8%? What's in there for them? Do they have any chance? Do they have any opportunity this year?
You see, to the 8%, I'll tell them this. Exams have a...
Can you put a figure to the 8% for me?
About 36,000. Yeah, what has happened over the years is that until the last 2 years, when you fail, you are done. Nobody cares about you. And I commend the NDC for coming up with a policy of receipt. And we think it's a good policy. Students who did the receipt last year are captured in this year's enrollment. So next year, these students can also go back and get better grades and then come back and we'll capture them and place them. Because you see, they are at a point when the student did not do well. Maybe he's bright, but exams sometimes can be tricky. They didn't do well. We want to give them a better chance of coming back strong and getting placed.
So when will they get the opportunity to do this receipt?
Oh, the WIAC comes up with a calendar. I think it will be next year. Somewhere early next year they will do it.
Let me also talk about the free feeding for day schools as well. Not all day schools have a place for eating. Do we have the infrastructure also ready?
Madam, you've done your research. What is going to happen is that we are working with the district chief executives. We are working with the headmasters of those schools to make sure that they can select vendors to cook the food for the students, just like we do with school feeding at the junior high school level, until we develop the capacity to build our own kitchens and dining halls. That will be how we'll do it this year. You did your study very well, and I appreciate that.
So we've been interacting with Dr. Yao Osei Educhum. He is the Deputy Minister in charge of secondary education here at the Ministry of Education.
Matilda Wamega with that interview, that exclusive interview there. So what's the way forward? I mean, these are teeming problems, but perhaps we'll be able to deal with it. Let's get some opinion from the chairman of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, right up here. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse. It seems we've lost him. Let's try and raise him back on the line. But whilst we do that, let me take you quickly through what you ought to do if you have not seen your placement yet, if you don't know which school you're going yet, here is a release from the Ghana Education Service. It says to go to www.myjhsresult.net, and you can continue from there. I'll take you through it one more time. It seems to have Bright up here at the moment. Hello, Bright.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time here on the Pulse. I believe that you're monitoring the development on this case from where you sit. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think that the ministry through the computerized system have announced where they are now in terms of those they've managed to place and those who are pending, and those who, by virtue of their result, they cannot place them at all. So basically, the announcement is looking at those who have gotten their first choice, and then also asking them to go to the system to identify the schools and then see whether they can also be placed and all that. And that came in the form of announcement. But beyond that, we feel that there are other things that we need to also take into consideration. Because, one, we believe that children were given options to choose 3 schools, and out of that, they're supposed to be placed, there's alternatives if they don't get their first choice or second choice. I think that what is available, that would be available for them would be the third choice. But if you look at the placement that was done, it was based purely on the first choice, without necessarily looking at how the spaces are available for them to place children in the second and then the third choice. So the announcement to us came as a surprise, in the sense that it created some panic. We have received a number of calls indicating, but we thought that no, once you have given children 3 alternatives, then of course you need to still open it up for them to see whether they would not, unless it comes to extreme conditions that you would announce that this is where you are now and all that. But if they still have the second choice and the third choice to go by, then of course we should be able to do that. Because the issue is that we are introducing a new program, that is the free SHS program. And a lot of things will depend on how children will be placed on the basis of this computerized system. So their conduct cannot be as they used to do it, because there are timelines that we need to meet.
Right.
And government has also set up a timeline that once they have placed the children in the school, the secondary schools all must submit the number of children that they have before transfers can be made in terms of the free SHS allocation that will do to the school. So we cannot allow anything to impede the process in terms of how smooth we want to run this program. So these are some of the things that we thought that no, there's a need for the Secretariat to speed up the process in terms of how they place children, so that we don't have any further delay in terms of how government is going to disperse the resources to these people. Because if you look at the announcement the minister made, once they have placed the children, it will take them 2 weeks to submit the list of all these children to the Secretariat, and then the Secretariat would also effect the transfer. So basically, if you want to add numbers, days to it, that alone, we will spend about a month in transferring these resources to it. So the question is, how is the school going to run, their affairs? So there's a need for the system to be more responsive in terms of how to meet the timelines that we give it to ourselves. That is why we are raising it. So the normal way cannot be as usual.
But if you say,
sorry
to barge in this way, but if you say they have to be more responsive, could you be a bit more specific of your organization's expectation of how exactly they should deal with this problem that we're seeing at the moment?
Yeah, that's why we are saying that, look, you have given children 3 options to choose. They didn't get their first option. At least we expect that at least they will get their second option or their third option. Okay. So things must move in a way, unless there are certain schools that we know children will choose our second choice, that others would also choose our first choice. So definitely the system will place those first choice and all that before looking at it. But looking at the number, over 150,000 children, that cannot be the issue. So clearly, that is why we are saying that once you have given those options, quickly make sure that any vacancies available in any school that they chose as their second choice or third choice, you have to place them. Unless it comes to a critical condition, that's where you begin to make announcements. Because let me tell you the truth, from Friday up to Saturday, receiving so many calls as to the way and manner children want to be placed and all that. It creates some kind of panic in the system, so because this is what people feel, the parents feel that, oh, there's a program that is coming that they have to enjoy. So if they have to struggle for their children to get placement, because the placement would eventually make them to enjoy the service and all that. So we cannot take those things for granted.
Well, let me take you through maybe two of some conspiracy theories that I've heard from some parents. Some believe that, well, this is some kind of an attempt to push more students into the private sector because government may be overburdened with the free SHS agenda in terms of the resources, the financial resources that they need to pump in. So there's this conspiracy theory out there I've heard among some parents that they're trying to push people more towards private schools. Is this does it resonate with the kinds of things that perhaps you've heard as an NGO for education?
Well, I have not heard that, and I also do not think so, because the budget that government gave us is about 400,000 to be able to accommodate these children. The budget that government gave was about 400,000. And if you look at the number who they have placed now, it's around 200 and something thousand. And then what is left is around 150,000. So even if you put all together, you still live within the budget that has been made available for this program. So I don't think that the government would want to do that. But the system has been responsible. That is where the issue is. If you are going to have any difficulties with the SHS program, then a lot of this will depend on the system and the way and manner we've made it in terms of how we want to address the needs of our children and all that. So the system has been up and running.
Before I let you go, from where you sit, and I don't know how much of a following, of an attention that you've paid to this new system that we're dealing with, but what would you say is accounting for this problem that we're facing with this particular system? Is it because it's new, or could you read any further meanings into what's happening?
Well, I find it a bit difficult to also understand why we are where we are, because we have implemented this computerization system for more than 6 years. Exactly. So, and every year, things keep on recurring, And for me, if you have implemented a program for more than 10 years, or you are almost 10 years, it should give you stability. It should tell you the issues that you have to deal with and how you have to go about it. And above all, there's a new program policy that is coming, which, of course, a lot of people are interested in how the program is going to be implemented. So if you have an old system that you are using, that old system should not be the one or should not be the avenue for which you would deny children or create some kind of level of uncertainty in the lives of our children. So it's a whole systemic thing that we need to correct. And all that. Once we're able to deal with that, I think they will have a free flow of policies in the manner that we want it as a state.
Okay. We'll say a very big thanks to you. We'll still be monitoring this developing story, and I'm sure that you would have some demands. Now, it appears to me as though you're saying that it's still early days yet, and there's still some options available to students who have not yet been placed. And so we'll raise you back when the timelines, that the extension that has been given actually die off. Thank you very much, Bright. Bright up here is the Executive Director of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. They're talking about free SHS and all of the issues that are coming up. It sounds like a daunting one, but with the extension, hopefully these problems will be solved and in good time. You're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty, and up here. Let's move away from free SHS, but we're still staying with education. Well, MTN Ghana Foundation has approved funding for construction of a 6-unit classroom block for Inshiaeso District Assembly Basic School in the Ashanti region. The foundation has also offered to provide furniture as well as teaching and learning materials for the school located in the Asante Achim North District. It follows a JoyNews agenda report in July, which highlighted the poor and life-threatening conditions of the school's existing structures. Ohim Interior, whose report prompted MTN's intervention, returned to the community to gauge the mood of the people following the announcement by MTN.
The absence of a junior high school at Inshiaeso compelled children to trek 32 kilometers or 20 miles daily to and from school at the nearest town, Ananikrom. The attendant risk on such quiet stretch have sometimes been devastating. At least 2 girls have been sexually assaulted in the last 2 years. Ishaesu DA Basic School has about 300 pupils, most of them from nearby settler farming communities like Jerusalem, Depot, Peldier, and Mamprusi. One of the most deprived in the Asante Achim North District, the school, with only 3 decent classrooms, is home to noisy African fruit bars. Officials of MTN Ghana Foundation say they are touched by the ordeal children and teachers go through in such dilapidated structures. Senior Manager, Sustainability and Social Impact at MTN Ghana, Georgina Asarifiagbenu, broke the news.
We have very good news for the people of Ishaiso near Agogo. MTN Ghana, having heard the news about the deplorable state in which the basic school is, decided to make a presentation to the board for us to get some funding to put up a 6 classroom block for the people of Ishaiso. So yes, I'm happy to share this news with you that the board has given approval for us to invest into a 6 classroom block. In addition, we are also going to provide furniture for the school, and it will also come with teaching and learning materials. So it's great news for the people of Ishai. So having heard about the state in which their classrooms are, the fact that it's not even fit for children to be educated under, the fact that they have to walk miles to be able to access JSS, and there's a high dropout rate, we understand, because the building is not safe for the children to attend school in. So it's good news, and we are very excited to undertake this project.
The project will also relieve children the burden of crowding over a few sets of furniture during class hours.
The story was quite unique, as it was told on your network. And having done a bit of investigation to find out where the location is. And like I also said, looking at the uniqueness of the story, how emotional it is, looking at the pictures and the footage that followed it, it was difficult for us to say no. The MTN Ghana Foundation is mainly focused in 3 areas: education, health, and economic empowerment. So this sits into the education portfolio of the MTN Ghana Foundation. And our aim is to provide access to education. Our aim is to be able to improve literacy. And then things that has to do with children is also very difficult for you to say no to.
Back at Ishaiso, teachers and students are excited at the news of MTN Ghana Foundation's support. Vida Enima is a class 4 teacher.
We feel very happy because living in such situation was very bad. The last time you came there, you saw the structures. Some were broken and others were not constructed well. So hearing this news, it will be very happy for us to live in a full structure and learn for their future. During the raining days, the rain enters the classrooms, and we find it difficult to sit in the classroom to learn. We just move from the class to another class to wait until the rain stops.
The impact will be very great. We believe that this will help improve access to education in the village, and not just in the village, because we also understand that about 5 or 6 surrounding villages also use the same facility. So we believe that hundreds or more than 200 or 300 children are going to benefit from this project. So the impact is going to be very huge.
District Director of Education, Ernest Kojaferi, cannot hide his joy. He's full of gratitude to MTN, and especially the multimedia group, for bringing the plight of the people to public attention.
We are very much excited in hearing that at long last, with the support of MTN, the people of Inshiaeso and its settler farming communities are also going to have this full cycle of basic education by providing the needed classroom blocks. Of course, the 6-unit classroom block, furnished furniture, and then the basic teaching learning materials. It's a big source of joy, not only to us at the district office only, but the entire Inshiasu community, parents, guardians, and the peoples in general. We will not be complete in expressing appreciation without acknowledging the support we have received from the multimedia group. MTN couldn't have known or heard of the plight of these innocent children. It has been made possible through the kind courtesy of the multimedia group.
From Inshiasu in the Asante Achim North District for Joy News, I'm Interior reporting.
That sure is a fantastic way to end that kind of report. I don't know whether to say congratulations to the Joy News team that worked on the story, or whether to say a very big thanks to MTN for that very good step.